Hello, Facebook. I'm back, and today we're going to talk about something that is chronic. A lot of people have chronic pain, right? And I have been dealing with this with some of my clients for a while because chronic pain and joint issues and mobility is so huge. It doesn't matter if you have a diagnosis or not, but we all get aches and pains, and I am here to help you eliminate them, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now that movement in your life and your body is super important if you want to get anywhere and not have issues. So put down below where you're watching from. Oh, hey, nice to see you. Okay, so let's get into it. So mobility. So what causes poor mobility in your body? And this is the main thing that you're going to want to address when you want to fix it, okay? So you have to think about what is causing it. So no stretching after you're done working out, that can do it. I've been there, I've done that. I've not prioritized stretching post-workout before, and it's not fun. It definitely catches up with you. This is something I have to constantly get on my clients' butts about. Make sure you're doing your post-workout stretching routine that I give you, because it will come back and bite you in the ass. Especially if you want longevity in the sport that you're interested in, or you just value your health and your aging, and you need to stretch. You can't expect your body to recover properly if you're not stretching post-workout. And I would be happy to cover more on stretching routines on a later video, if you need help with something like that, because you know the general basis of stretching, like from gym class in high school and middle school, right? Like those basic static stretches, but sometimes you need a little bit more dynamic stretches. Sometimes you want to implement some yoga. Like, it really just depends on what you need, and if you need to like break down some tissues, there's a lot of work that you can do within that, okay? So there's broad gray areas within that between stretching and actual physical therapy, okay? And another cause to poor mobility is overtraining, so overworking your muscles. You don't need to be training abs every single fucking day. Like, I already covered this on a video this past week, but there's no reason that you need to be doing that, unless you have a specific goal and you are already conditioned enough to handle that amount of load on any particular muscle group. But even then, I always suggest at least 2 rest days, or at least a 48-hour period where you're giving your body a break off of training a certain muscle split or group. Okay, so you don't want to be necessarily training legs 3 days in a row. You need to space it out. You can't just be, doing squats and squats and squats all the time. Like, you're never going to build the booty and have it repair properly in between and eliminate that amount of stress on the muscle tissues itself. Okay, so you need to prevent that so that your ligaments and stuff can repair and you can have that full range of motion, so you can do your workouts effectively with full range of motion. Because we all know, if we don't have proper muscle engagement, then you cannot get the gains that you want to see. You cannot create that sexy, lean, feminine muscle tone that you want to see if you're just not having a strategy within your workouts and you're just following some ab challenge or push-up challenge, or just stuff that's just like you find off of Pinterest. That's not going to work, and a lot of times you're going to hurt yourself in the process if you don't know what you're doing and your body is a beginner. Like, if this is something that you are not used to doing, you can't expect to just jump into something like that, okay? So overtraining, so huge. Okay, another thing that causes you to have poor mobility is age or injury. This is pretty common sense. As we age, our joints and our ligaments and all of that good stuff, those weaken, especially if we're not active, okay? So when you have an injury as well, this deteriorates the whatever injury around that area that you have. So there's that. So when you're sedentary at like a desk job, or just you have an overall sedentary life, this causes muscle atrophy, and this can also cause muscular imbalances and overcompensations within your spinal alignment, obviously. So there's a lot of back issues there that you see with people who work at desk jobs, just from like hunched over at a desk all day, or on a computer or a phone. Or maybe you have like you're driving in a car all the time, or you're a truck driver, or whatever the case may be. If you have a job that involves you seated in a position in a way that's not exactly natural, or you are tensed up, or you're just doing it day after day after day, this over time causes stress on those joints. Okay, so it's not providing you enough movement, especially if you're not regularly exercising, to improve the strength and health of those joints and tissues. Okay, so when you live a sedentary lifestyle, you have to think like a kid who breaks his arm, right? His arm is like, normal shaped and looking before he gets a cast on, and then, 4 to 8 weeks later, when he gets the cast off, let's just say, you noticeably see a difference from his once broken arm to his arm that was never broken. And that's because there was no engagement within those muscles, and they atrophied. Okay, and there's a lot of repair going on with that, obviously. So this is just an example of how your muscles can deteriorate, as well as your joints, even though it's like repairing things. So another way that you are getting poor mobility is repetitive motion. So this goes back to, your desk jobs and stuff. So if you're repeating motions of like desk stuff, if you are a hairstylist like I was, if you're constantly working with hair and you're doing things in a tight space or whatever, if you're doing repetitive motions like this, it can cause extra stress on those joints. Okay, and this is how you get like carpal tunnel syndrome and all these other things, just really minute things within that. So if you're not working for joint health, you're not eating for joint health, you're gonna start seeing a lot of those issues if you have a very repetitive job, if that makes sense. And then last but not least, stress itself, like stress of life being life. Okay, so this is a lot of tension buildup within your joints and your muscles. This is so huge because all of us walk around with a ton of stress all the time. That's just how we live in this day and age, and it's really hard on your body. It physically is hard on your body to have that much stress, and you have to really think about what you're doing day to day, and how you're responding to things mentally and physically. And if you do not have an outlet to deload your stress and work it out of your body and practice self-care, it will add up over time. And all of these things that you're doing is causing you to have poor mobility, which causes common chronic ailments and pain. Okay, so this is back pain, this is joint pain, this is hamstring strains, this is headaches and neck pain, and this is bulging and like prolapsed discs. These are knee injuries, ankle ailments, and elbow issues. All of this stuff. These are the chronic things that leave you whining for the rest of your life into your old age, and you're constantly going to over-the-counter pain medications, anti-inflammatory drugs, and let's hope that you don't have to resort to opioids. You don't want to have to go that route where you have to have surgery, you have to have really high potent pain medication. It's really sad when you have people walking around with this type of pain and they don't do anything about it besides going to medications only, because there's a lot you can do to not only prevent all of this from happening, but there's ways to cope with it without having to go to the extreme of relying on only medication. Yes, medicine and science is so great and it's so life-saving, but that doesn't mean that we should depend on it for our last saving grace, because you can make your old age outcome way better if you take care of yourself now, and it's always worth it, okay? So, and a sign of a sports-related injury would be like pre and post-exercise workout pain. So if you're having pain within your workouts, or before your workouts or after your workouts, that's likely a sign that you have a related sports injury. If it's not always there, then this is a sports related injury or exercise induced injury. If you have that intra-exercise pain, that means it's constant throughout the exercise. So no matter what you're doing, that's probably what it is. You really need to take it easy on what weight you're lifting and all that other good stuff. Another thing you can have that indicates a sign of sports injury would be muscle tightness and discomfort. So you probably really need to go back to taking care of your body and stretching and rolling things out and taking a breather, really allowing everything to repair itself, and make sure that you're on top of course, your sleep, which is important for recovery. You are on top of your water and your nutrition, as well as everything else. You have to think of the whole picture. You can't just have a meal plan. You can't just have a workout plan. You can't just do workouts and not stretch. Like, you have to realize how crucial it is to have the full piece of the puzzle together for you to actually have true health and vitality in your life, okay? And long-term sustainability of that, of your results, because that's what you want, right? You don't want to have to keep yo-yoing. You don't want to still have back pain and, whatever. Okay, so let's get back to sports injuries. Another thing that can indicate that is sharp pain or discomfort, and this appears during exercise. So something quick. If you're like doing a pull-up and you feel like this instant strain, this sharp feeling, you need to reevaluate what you're doing, because you probably are on the verge of injuring yourself, or you already did, and you're agitating that joint, you're agitating that muscle tissue, okay? So you don't want to do that any further and make it worse. So I highly suggest, if you have a sharp pain like that, make sure you get checked out by your health or fitness professional and your doctor. That is always the best case, is go to the doctor, okay? And if you have swelling or stiffness or redness in any area of your body, that's also a good indication of inflammation and just really really agitated tissue, okay, or fluid within something that's going wrong, okay? If you have a clicking sound with pain, that's also a good indication of a sports injury. So these are signs that's okay, I have an acute injury and I need to go into recovery mode. I need to deload a little bit. I need to take a break from the gym. Sometimes you need to do that, okay? I know it's hard. I know you have goals you want to hit. This past week, I literally just had to tell a client, you gotta chill out, because she had something really impactful in her body happen. Not gonna get into details, but sometimes we need that recovery so that we can come back stronger and healthier quicker, the proper way. So we don't want to deteriorate those tissues and whatever injury we might have more. So we really need to follow what your coach says, trust the process of what your recovery in the process, okay? And something to remember with mobility is, again, range of motion. Range of motion in your life. Sorry guys, I lost you for a second. Range of motion in your life is so important in your day-to-day. I don't know if any of you guys have kids, but I do, and I am constantly moving around moving around with them. I am a pretty active, homemaker, if you will. So I'm constantly like building stuff, and like I cut the grass for my husband, when he's working and stuff. Like, you have to do things day to day that you don't realize actually involves a lot of physical activity. If you are just taking care of your house, or you're doing something at work, if you have just living requires you to have good mobility. And if you're not keeping up with that, then you can expect to pay for it later with medications and depression and anxiety and stress and pain. Because if you're not taking care of yourself now, it will catch up to you. It's inevitable. It's a part of life. It's a part of aging. But you don't have to let that deter you and get you down. You can do something about it now and not have to whine about it later, at least as much, because you can't really predict your outcome, but you sure as hell can make it a lot better, right? So I know I don't want to be that old lady who is, has to have a scooter just to go shopping for groceries. Okay, so I'm going to do everything in my power to still be walking when I'm like 80, 90 years old. Okay, that's my goal. I want to be around to see my great grandchildren and have them walking and feeling great too. So I know a lot of you want to have the same things, and I don't want you to think that going into your 30s, 40s, and 50s has to be this dreaded thing, this dreadful number that's like, oh man, I'm getting old, so I'm just gonna start feeling bad about myself, and I'm just gonna have to live with pain for the rest of my life. No, you don't. You don't have to live with pain. You're just choosing to. You have the right to choose what your outcome is and what your health is. So you have to step into that. You have to take responsibility for that. Okay, and that's what I'm here to help you guys to do. So if you have any questions about health and fitness, you have any topics that you'd love me to cover and clear up for you, I'd be happy to do that. Put that down below. If you found this super helpful, share this with a friend, share it on your page. Love seeing that this is helpful for you guys, because I absolutely love over delivering to all of my viewers and my audience, and just being of service to absolutely everybody. So if you are interested in getting healthy and getting past your pain for good, put down below, I'm in, and I'm going to contact you and set you up with some cool shit, okay? So hit me with some hearts if you like this, and I'll talk to you guys later when we have something else to talk about.